because my heart knows this city, bleeds it in like black asphalt poured on broken promise roads. My heart loves like the sun loves the August long weekend, with an unforgiving heat. There's the uncomfortable trickle of sweat on back every time you meet my eye, like my city I am worth sweating for. My body breathes in Horlac cook fires and green grass rub raw River Valley Trail underfoot, sighs regretfully at February's false hope sunshine. My bones bend to the sound of Churchill's music and River City blues. These are my Edmonton hands. Been growing them for 24 years. They hold habits passed down from lands I've never seen. The now pocket library cards carry possibility for new beginnings in each palm. And these are my Edmonton calves, weaned on spring, summer, fall, winter, all-season soccer games, Canada Day dances, and Sikh pride parades. They may keep me moving out of this city to find my history in storied buildings and beach ocean singing songs of my family's yesterday, but they will always take me back to the place I want to be. So don't try to pull Edmonton out from underfoot. My prints are all over these goddamn soccer fields, carving my initials into Edmonton's snowy, white skin. I am an Edmonton girl, and I have always been home. Thank you. Okay, thanks guys. So I'm gonna do another one. I'm sorry I don't have it memorized. It's a more serious piece, and it's partially about my mother. The girl in the green apron asks what she can get me today. Before I can wipe the white froth of privilege from my lips, like a rabbit stray, I foam out the words chai tea latte. The girl in the green apron asks for a name, stain inky the white casket where she will brew my bloodlines into something more palatable for seventh generation tongues. Before I can sprinkle my cinnamon dust syllables into her hands, the spice of an entire ocean settles like caravan in my lungs. My name claws its way up throat like it was thrown down a well, stepping on the heads of ancestors who drowned themselves to escape British bullets waiting at the entrance of my mouth. I show the girl in the green apron how hesitation has split my tongue in two, like branches on a silk road, like veins on a tea leaf, like birthright and immigrant's dream. But there is no ground on Canadian soil fertile enough for growing both contradiction and surrender. I wonder which story she will mix into my cup. That of my father's family fishing village turned auto body laborer, or my mother's City Girl University degree turned immigrant fry cook. I wonder what the chai tea will taste like now that my taste buds have grown to stand straight backed instead of plantation bent, like white picket fence. The girl in the green apron expects a tip. I slip her the change I will not spare myself and hope that the metallic sound of payment will mask the clanking of chained wrists echoing through generations. Freedom should taste like whipped cream, she says, but forgets to mention that in this country, freedom costs extra. The girl in the green apron wants to know how I take my sugar. How many bodies can you fit into a teaspoon, I say? Which canes touch salted skin before crystallizing for my pleasure? Will the particles stain my mouth red like the rubies that dotted the broken farmer's spine? I know it will be sweet enough to almost mask the taste of guilt and cardamom, that the scent of cloves will travel like my grandfather's breath up my nostrils and into the memory of muscles that never stopped aching. The girl in the green apron eyes my nose ring like inspiration instead of cattle tape, slips cardboard sleeve around my cup like noose. The finality of the latte sitting between us is full of compromise. I feel my mother's bones bend in my hand around its frail neck, cradle the warmth of my indulgence and shame, letting the steam pass through the clear-cut jungle between my eyebrows. These days, my mother's chai is too strong for me, but I know that even this will burn my tongue, regardless. Thank you. This one's called Coconut. They called me a coconut because I breathed in boy bands, not Bollywood. Wrote fan nonfiction instead of formulas, learned to shave before I learned to love. They called me a coconut, but no, my parents aren't racist. No, I'm not like them, nothing like them, nothing like them. I love you. I choose you. But I still can't take you home tonight. When they call you a coconut, they teach you the following. 1, if he likes you, it is because you are not like other Indian girls. 2, if he likes you, it is because he thinks that he can handle your spice. 3, if he likes you, it is because you are the best exotic that he can find. 4, because the only way that you can be loved is if you choose sides. My first therapist thinks that I am just caught in the middle. She is so proud of her stunning revelation that I sit back and smile. Yes, it is depressing. I am a child running my toes through dirty sand, hoping it falls away darker after I've touched it. Yes, it is depressing, but I want it to be white. They called me a coconut, but I fucking hate Russell Peters. That was supposed to be my job. Where else will I find the strength to laugh at the threat of a beating? Where will I be applauded for standing witness to a father's rage? Women who tremble in silent servitude as their hands roll up dinner. Their locked lips teach their children that if he hits you, it is because you deserved it. And if she hits you, it is because you didn't know any better. I learned that a mother's love feels a lot like the moment where a tired palm finds redemption on a child's cheek. Dear white people, I'm sorry that I was jealous of your parents' divorce. I'm sorry that I offered a sick, bitter envy instead of sympathy. I'm sorry that your broken home sounded the same as my hopeful heart. Because while Russell's dad was breaking hangers on his back, Russell's mom was watching, sacrificing her son because she could hardly save herself. She used to hold him at nighttime when she'd whisper that she was sorry, that I deserved it. I was my father's favorite. That means I watched. It was all I'd ever seen my mother do. They called me a coconut, brown on the outside, white on the inside. Inside there was only 24 years of hollowing yourself out to be filled by someone else's expectations, so that you, like a real coconut, can be judged in the palms of others and put aside in search of something better. Thank you.
Once again for Nisha Patel, ladies and gentlemen. They called me a coconut too, but the reason for that is because of my hair, because there's 2 different types of coconuts in the West Indies. 2, yeah, I said it, 2. We had this argument before. One of them is the one that you see normally, which is the green on the outside. When you cut it on the inside, it's white and has manna and juice, whatever. The second type is the dark one, the smaller one with the hair on it. Hair, hence why they call me coconut. That was a great poem, but I felt that last one that you did, I touched my soul, right? Ladies and gentlemen, as we move along here from amazing spoken word to amazing spoken word, before I get to my next spoken word artist, I wanted to introduce ISA to the world, Edmonton Immigrant Services Association. Put your hands together, apparently y'all know that. And I'm just gonna pass it on to the young lady here who's gonna give you a little bit of information on what it's about and how you can get into contact with them if you need their services.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming here tonight, this afternoon, and attending this amazing event hosted by Christina, Amarita, and Edmund, just to name a few. It's actually quite wonderful. My name is Darlene. I am a settlement practitioner with Edmonton Immigrant Services Association. We provide settlement services to newcomers, immigrants, and first, new Canadian citizens. So we provide services along the lines of help with language interpretation for your documents. We have ESL classes. We provide settlement services in the areas of referrals to food, clothing, housing. If you need help with your immigration papers and advice on immigration as well, we are the ones that help with that. We also run programs in the schools, in different schools. Grace Martin and Edith Rogers and J. Percy Page are just to name a few. And we also have settlement practitioners that work in the libraries If you are in need or know anybody in need of such services, please come by and visit me at the table. I can give you some more information, and I would be happy to help you out. Thank you very much, and I'll pass it on to our wonderful MC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it. So, I'm looking for the page with the information of this next amazing spoken word artist, Christina Hardy. Christina was born and raised in Mill Woods, right here, in Papa's Chase territory. Oh yeah, I want to learn how to pronounce this word, so you're gonna have to tell me. What's this word? Amiskiwachiwa Hagen, which is another name for Edmonton, is that right?
Yeah.
In what language?
It is Beaver Hills House in Cree.
Beaver Hills House in Cree, that's crazy. And growing up, you spent the majority of your free time exploring the seemingly endless fields and forests, so you love nature, obviously. It was in the neighborhood known as the Pits, and you credit your love for exploration, the natural world, and make-believe in this natural area. You're a graduate of McEwen's University Theatre Arts Program in 2005, and your performance used your performance background, to work as programs coordinator at the John Walter Museum. Ladies and gentlemen, experience nature through Christina Hardy. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon, folks. It is really wonderful here to be in Millbourne Mall with you all this afternoon. And I'm going to be doing kind of combining the things that I love, storytelling and Edmonton's history. When he arrived in 1754, Anthony Henday was one of the first Europeans to lay eyes on what we now call Alberta. Henday had been sent by the Hudson's Bay Company, who were looking to expand their fur trade deeper into the interior of Rupert's Land. At that point, the HBC was still primarily operating out of forts along the Hudson's Bay, and the company then relied on the First Nations people of the interior to travel downstream to these forts to trade their furs. Whereas the rival Northwest Company had independent traders who traveled inland themselves to make connections with the various nations and do on-site training. Well, the Northwest Company's business model was much more lucrative, and as a result, the chief factor at HBC's Fort York decided that if a proper person was to be sent a great way into the country with presents for these Indians, it may be a means of drawing them down to trade, thus keeping up with the rival Northwest Company and providing the opportunity to have some maps drafted while that proper person was out there. Having joined the Hudson's Bay Company 4 years earlier as a laborer and a net maker, Henday was probably not the most qualified person to send for the job. In reality, he wasn't even qualified for the job he originally had with the company, having admitted his past as a smuggler on his application. But Henday was the one that they sent. So in late June, Anthony Henday left with a group of Plains Cree returning to the interior. The party first traveled by canoe, but soon abandoned the boats and set off by foot across the ever-extending prairies. I often try to find in myself what Henday must have felt on his journey. That sense of anticipation that builds when you step out of one world and into another. I try to imagine the wonder, the expectation, and the overwhelming potential that anything could be waiting. My parents, they built one of the first homes on the block in our Sackon neighborhood in 1982. When I asked my parents why they chose to live in Mill Woods as opposed to Jasper Place where they both grew up, my mother replied, it was the only place in town we could afford to buy a home. And this was a reason that rang true for many early residents of Mill Woods. It was cheaper to move to the south and build your home from scratch than buy a house somewhere else in the city. So in the early 1980s, my parents cleared their lot of trees and began to build their Mill Woods home. And 2 years later, I was born, a Mill Woods girl. And when I was growing up, our family home was one among many that formed the final row of homes in South Mill Woods. And the back gate of our yard opened into a sprawling wheat field, which as a child seemed to have no end. I would proudly tell people that I lived in the last row of houses in Edmonton. And this field was where my dad taught me how to ride my bike, where I would listen for frogs in the morning and coyotes at night. And the nearby trees quickly became an extension of my own backyard. But, unlike our thick-hedged yard, beyond the gate was always a special place, a wild place, and it carried with it this palpable sense of wonder and possibility and potential for absolute greatness. One of my earliest memories is of my dad waking me up early one night to watch an orange and red hot air balloon land in that wheat field. And the setting sun lit it up like the sky, and the softly billowing fabric of the balloon seemed like a piece of the sunset, softly falling to greet us all. And from that very moment, that wheat field, the gates, the trees, they all became a portal between this endless concrete of suburbia and the great magical beyond that housed something. It was in the first grade that I got my first pair of glasses. And my dad helped me pick them out, and they were big and plastic and peach. And while I don't remember the drive home from the Millwoods Town Centre lens crafters, I very distinctly remember getting home and running into the backyard and climbing up to the very top of my play structure and looking out over that wheat field. The wheat closest to me, the wheat closest to our hedge looked so crisp and clear, and I could almost make out every single kernel of grain with their long pointed husks. I followed that yellow sea of green towards the tree line, and for the very first time with my new glasses, I could really see the trees, really see them. I always knew that that dark green crayon streak in the distance was trees, but I could now make them out as individuals, appreciate their textures and note their branches. And I followed the length of the tree line. I followed the length of the tree line, taking each moment in, and as I followed along, a black church steeple suddenly appeared in the trees, followed by a faded red barn. I pulled my focus back, and I could see them both so clearly from the top of our slide. For years, I thought this field was just the end, but it was revealed to me that it was the very beginning. And I was floored. These things, they had always existed, but they were washed away by my bad vision, and this sudden revelation of their presence stirred in me this great drive to go, to find, to witness. And I began to extend my circle of adventure, moving farther away from that familiar clump of trees and traveling farther and farther east than I had ever ventured before, exploring the ins and outs of the swamps and forests and weirdly sandy trails, diving deeper into that field and moving from one distant clump of trees from the next, usually with some neighbors and school children. This place, it offered the kids in my neighborhood a unique escape, a place to discover themselves and the world around them, a place to take chances and make mistakes. And it's because of this that this place, the pits, I feel should be remembered, documented, and held up as a space of childhood importance within our community. But the pits of my childhood just barely exist now. What was once the backdrop to every childhood adventure and fantasy is now occupied by the Anthony Henday Ring Road. And Millwoods is no longer a community on the edge, occupying space between suburbia and the rural. And while this certain clump of trees and a familiar path from my childhood still exist, the very essence of that space is gone. That wonder, that potential. And what was once rolling prairie filled with the croaking of frogs is now replaced with the roar of traffic and a very definite end. Thank you.
Can I have another round of applause for Christina Hardy? Up next, we have Edith Rogers Junior High Band, composed of 5 members, Min and Ishan on guitar, Romain on bass guitar, Dhruv on drums, and Rebecca as lead singer. They believe that music is not just a form of art, but is also a huge part of everyone's lives. Music has brought the group together. Ishan, the guitarist, says, working with them is a huge honor. The band says Millwoods practically is the go-to place for everyone with its libraries and schools with encouraging and amazing teachers. So let's give them a hand. The Edith Rogers Band. While we have... Oh, I'm unplugging this now. Oh, no worries. I can do that.
It's working? Yeah? Everyone listens to me? Okay.
Oh, you guys ready to go? Alright.
This one is working now. Okay, so as I said, my name is Rebecca. I'm gonna be the vocalist right now, and we have Ishan as our guitarist. We have Romain in the bass. We have Dhruv in our drums, and we have Min, who's fixing his guitar. So we're gonna be singing La Bamba. It's a Spanish song. I hope you like it.
While we have a bit of time to sort out some technical difficulties, I invite everyone to move in closer, fill in this space up here, because it's so much nicer to be able to see your lovely faces enjoy the music. As well as it's so much fun to listen to people when you're not so far away. Let's all get closer and realize that we're not so scary after all. Oh, except for you. All right, let you guys take over.
Yeah,